This final video is a look at a bit of a longer term model outlook, just sort of confirm these trends. So again, we're looking at an increase in moisture now moving into November. And November should be the peak for most of the interior and the south before we progress to the northern wet season build up, and we see that complete flip where the south generally dries out overall in comparison to the north, where the north gets really, really wet. So this is the current system. This is 23rd to 30th. So this is that storm band that's moving through South Australia this next few days, to some extent eastern parts of Victoria, and some storms on the east coast. You'll see these storms are building, moving into the start of November. The first week of November is the first of these major cycles moving through, where we'll get storms through South Australia, parts of New South Wales. They'll probably be more coastal than what's shown here, but predominantly along the east coast right up to North Queensland and across the top end. Notice this moisture anomaly out here. This is going to be a key signal to keep an eye on in December. So these moisture sources, so this iodine is building and building and building through the winter and spring. That lag effect and that stored energy will then become tapped into in summer, not so much spring. This is why we're seeing that later effect, because of the lag and the way that these systems operate, that the computer models don't seem to identify. So then moving into mid-November, we should go into more of a stable pattern. If you look at the November map, so week 3, we're looking at generally high pressure ridging, so it'll be a nice hot clear period overall. There'll be scattered storms, but these broad fronts and that keep coming through should be a lot more few and far between. Generally this will be a broad heating phase for this final storm period at the end of the year, so just be prepared for that. We might go into a nice hot dry spell, so that's what this is. And again, that's simulated here into week 3. And week 4 we should see this next storm band building, and this one's going to be further west again through central interior, and we should see some, I'm still putting money on that we'll see some enhanced storms through the Channel Country, northeast pastoral, particularly this region, because it hasn't got any rain yet, so there'll be a lot of stored energy in the ground, which should enhance storms. So I still believe this area through northeast South Australia into parts of western New South Wales should see some rain, purely because of that, because the storms keep missing that point. It'll have to balance out the energy differential. And again, that'll be pretty much the peak for them before we move north. So for you guys in western New South Wales, central New South Wales, this is your most likely period that you'll see storms in this later part of November. Again, yeah. So notice this moisture out in the Indian Ocean. You watch how it builds. So moving into early December, this is where that tropical system will form. I'll quickly get the December map up, just for reference. So this is from the December long-range forecast. If you're not on an annual plan, you won't be able to see this until November kicks over. We release the monthly limits at the start of each month. You get the month ahead. If you're on the monthly plan, the annuals get everything, no matter what. So we're looking at tropical lows forming around week 1, late week 1, week 2 of December, around that point there in the Indian Ocean south of Indonesia there. There might be one across the top end. If it does, it'll just be more of a tropical wave, and it'll go to the west, and there's a low probability of one further east, but it might be a little bit later in the second half of December. It shifts out towards New Caledonia, but these will just be tropical lows. I don't expect them to be tropical cyclones, although this one out here off the Pilbara coast has a higher probability due to the moisture and temperature and all those sorts of things. This area is a lot more favourable. I'm not saying it's going to be a cyclone, but I'm not saying it's not going to be a cyclone. So anyway, that's what I'm referencing to for those who aren't sure. If we go back to the map, back to what I'm talking about with this moisture anomaly, you'll notice that this area that's in that map starts to build up moving into that early December. So this is the week 1 of December. So just watch this area, because this is where we should see the first system spawning. And at the same time, we'll see those storms that form through the interior during that start of week 4 of November push out to the east coast. We get those severe storms into week 1 of December as well. So that's that. And if we go to the December week 1 map, I don't think I have a week 1 map actually. Week 1's pretty dead. But we'll see a lot of those storms will mostly be peaking around the 8th to 12th of December. So as these tropical systems start to spawn, we'll see those widespread storms through much eastern Queensland. There'll be a front and some storms through Victoria, but generally they'll be starting to shift up through northeast New South Wales into Queensland And while these tropical lows are forming, this area across the coast should be mostly devoid of moisture because they'll technically be drawing all the moisture in. So we're looking at a landfall around the 12th to 17th. It'll be closer to the 16th, I reckon. And they should start forming anywhere from the 8th. So we've got 8th, 12th December, the first tropical low pressure opportunity emerges in the Indian Ocean near 112, 114 east. While cyclone development is of low confidence, convection may become organised. So we should see at least a spiralling system. Secondary low to form near 160 east near Vanuatu. That'll go away from the country. A weaker signal appears around the top end Arafura, but its development is likely limited by the western low. So if this thing forms, this probably won't. If this thing does form and moves to the southwest, then this can form. It'll probably follow the same track due to ridging to the south. Tropical features west of the Gulf are expected to drift to the west-southwest. So anywhere west of the Arnhem Land, traditionally they go west. It's just there's just this imaginary line there. It's actually more so in the Gulf. But right, this period coincides with enhanced thunderstorm activity along the summer arc. So you get this horseshoe shape. If you look at it on the satellite, you'll see it during summer where the storms remain around these coastal boundaries where the moisture is. From the west across the north into the east under the horseshoe trough. Look that up, it's a thing. Storms remain scattered. Heat and humidity notably increases across the east as northwest flow extends deep into the eastern interior, priming the atmosphere ahead of the next inland trough and southern front. So there should be a good storm period late December, but have a look at the December forecast for that. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So that's generally what this anomaly here is, and these storms in the east. These will be a bit later than what's shown. We can go to the ensembles for these. These are just weeklies as well. Nothing too exciting. It just shows the progression of these storms. So we're looking at storms through the interior and eastern Queensland and the Northern Territory. A bit of a dry phase into once we move into that second week of November, which we expect. So after the 5th, it should break down and just start getting really hot outside this tropical zone, which is what indicated on that November map. It's gone now, but that area up here was the main area that would see storms. Ridging will just keep pushing storms out to the northwest. This is when the top end gets its best storms, when the moisture comes in from the sea and those inland high temperatures push out to sea. You get those huge storms, great lightning shows, traditional build-up activity. We go to the monthlies. Again, November is still looking pretty good for widespread activity, which is what we've been looking for. Notice this tongue of moisture coming into the Pilbara. This is what we're looking at for December, particularly if we get a system out here. December, this is that area, so we're looking at that crossing around here. I think I had a bit further south, but anywhere along this coast, being a tropical low, it's hard to pick up the exact landfall zone. The stronger they are, the easier they are to get the landfall due to a certain set of rules I have. And generally storms will be through that northeast corridor through northeast Queensland. Have a look at the December map. So this will be the second half of December, most of this rain. I wouldn't pay too much attention to this stuff down south. January, we know there's going to be that system that crosses near 80 Mile Beach. Most of the tropical activity, they will be from the Kimberley across to the peninsula northeast Queensland. February again, I keep saying this, we have this system crossing around the Wide Bay, so it's going to form in the Gulf. Very wet first week of February for northeast Queensland, very traditional event. A low pressure system will eject off the coast, go parallel to the coast, head south and cross around the Wide Bay. It's around the 12th or 14th of February, something. Again, if you're watching this and you're on a weather page, stop rehashing my work. It's really, really poor form. March, there's a system for the Pilbara. Again, it's more of a tropical low that will track sort of parallel to the coast. And this, most in eastern Queensland, there should be a cloud band that comes from the Gulf right down into southeast Queensland, northeast New South Wales, but that's about it. Otherwise, very hot and dry right across the southern interior from the Gascoyne through to New South Wales, and this will be probably a very high fire danger period for March and the peak of the season, so there'll be some late wildfires in this one. April, this is the big event I've been talking about for a while, and our southern farmers, this is what's going to bring the wet break around Anzac Day. So it's going to form up here. Check out the April forecast. It's going to cross around De Grey, which is about there, and it'll come right in through the interior into South Australia, possibly down through Western Victoria. So this will be the drought breaker for them and possibly bring some early good rains to Western Victoria, possibly southwestern New South Wales. So this is looking really good too. High confidence in this. This will be a top end category, probably category 5 this time of year. And with the lag of moisture and energy from the current IOD, this is what's going to fuel this sucker. So really pay attention to this. If you're on the Pilbara coast, there's not much of anything there, but there is a few roadhouses, there's a few properties and whatnot apart from the mines. I'd be planning for this one with high confidence. These ones are usually right when I put these ones out, so pay attention to that. May, there's not a lot of activity in May. I haven't quite finished May, but I did start looking at June yesterday, and there's a couple of northwest cloud band features coming in from. The first one will come in across the top end, or come in through the Pilbara and be focused across the top end actually into around mid-June. Then there's another northwest flow that builds the last days of June into early July for northeast Queensland. And there's a few fronts that cross the southwest, and predominantly a lot of the rain through June will be focused in Western Australia and South Australia. I'm not seeing a lot of follow-on into the eastern states outside of the coast. There'll be a couple of upper troughs that bring some enhanced frontal system showers, but nothing really standoutish at the moment. Actually, May, there's an east coast low around week 4 that sort of hovers around that coast there. That'll be that. But I've got to finish the maps. And July I haven't done, apart from that first week where it should be wet across northeast Queensland. But yeah, that about sums up the long range view. But for the actual forecast with my specific events, go to the website. It should all be there. I'll get June out soon. I need to finish May though, getting the maps done for May first. Anyway, cheers.